Hey fellow cannapreneurs, this week's show is brought to you by HMO Plus. Let professional growers build and install your in-home growing system for all your growing needs. Call Joe Growflounder at 719-569-6529 or visit him at www.hmoplus.com. That's HMOPLUSS.com. Now on to the show. Open up, Colorado. It's 420. Time to grind and burn.
This is not your son's stoner show.
Welcome to the Cannabis Community Project. I am Brainstorm, bringing you your weekly podcast from the CCP radio studios high up in Denver, Colorado. I am here every week with you exploring the business side of this newly emerging Colorado economy, focusing on the business, the patient, the retailer, to the geek in the garage, creating the next innovation in cannabis. This is the first media platform to help fellow cannapreneurs build sustainable businesses while living the lifestyle. But this is definitely an 80-20. We are 80% a business show here. You know, the Cannabis Community Project, when people hear the name, they immediately assume, weed. These guys are talking about pots. No, my friend. This is not your son's stoner show, although we do have a little fun with it. This is a business show. We are here to learn about business, and the business we're focusing on is the cannabis business. Right here in Colorado. This is quite possibly the next revolution in business that is happening that could change the world. So, do you have a business, an idea, maybe just some thoughts or something you want to talk about, like health or legal or food, music, growing, different technology? Contact me, call me, email me, Facebook me. I want to hear from you. Let's discuss the issues at the front of the industry. You see, together, we can help each other grow businesses and become employed. Now, I'm going to let you in on a secret. The Cannabis Community Project is not about weed. It's about people. People pursuing their own happiness. But the philosophy of pursuing happiness is based on freedom, economic freedom, freedom of resources, freedom of time, but freedom to pursue your own creativity. You see, if you're working a minimum wage job somewhere for somebody else, 8, 9, 10 hours a day, miserable, depressed, you can't pursue your own creativity if you're pursuing somebody else's. So the Cannabis Community Project is about saying, hey, are you one of those people who find yourself to be unemployable or close to unemployable? All you can get is minimum wage jobs and none of them interest you. None of them are things that you want to be working in. Well, it sounds like you're poor, and it sounds like you're miserable, and you're working for somebody else. So why not just officially unemploy yourself, work for yourself? You'll still probably be poor, but at least you can change the miserable part. CCP, Cannabis Community Project. Come work for yourself and let me guide you through that process. I have a lot of experience in building startups, getting the basic fundamentals together in business and business administration, and a lot of experience in sales and marketing, and I can definitely help you through that process. You're struggling dispensary? Not sure why people are coming in once and not coming back? Are you a glass blower and you can't sell pieces? Are you a caregiver and your patients are leaving you? Maybe it's your marketing. Maybe it's your business, your overall strategy. That's what I can do. That's what I'm good at. See, I don't understand growing that much, but I understand how to get a hold of the expert growers and talk to them, so that information will still get to you. But listen to this show, and we're going to figure out a way to profit, make a living from it, become employed from it, make a legitimate, respectable business person. Well, okay, maybe you don't have to be a business person, but at least a respectable employed person, because you're employed and you're making money and you're paying taxes and you're in control of your life. And more importantly, you're in control of your creativity. Let's do that together, because that sounds a hell of a lot better than working through minimum wage and trying to get people doing things that, quite frankly, are just not going to be as great as the emerging Colorado economy when it comes to full legalization. Join us on this journey. I'll be here waiting for you. You remember last week? Great show. If you didn't hear it, go back and take a listen. You can get it on any one of your major media channels, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iTunes, whatever you want to listen. Go back and get the show, because this show last week was exactly what I'm talking about. The fundamentals of starting a business and learning about what it means to be in business. Not what does it mean to be growing weed and selling weed. What does it mean to actually start a business? To be registered in the state, to get a payment processing system in place, taking payments, accounting, paying taxes, following compliance. Yeah, these are all the things we're learning about. In addition to the fun part of talking to growers and the sad part of talking to patients, we're also out there talking to people like Amy and Jessica from MJ Freeway, learning about going into business in cannabis. Let's take a quick short-term memory relapse, look back at last week's show, just a minute or two here, just so we don't forget altogether what great stuff we learned last week.
Where I had the IT company and Amy has her web development company.
Yeah, I saw your backgrounds. You guys both have a lot of technology in corporate world, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually got a business degree. In 2009, late 2009, Jess and I were talking about how we could get involved in this industry. We saw a lot of potential. So we focused on building our system from the ground up specifically for cannabis. And then when the regulations were released in Colorado and went into effect in July 2011, we really took a very strong compliance focus. And that continues to be our primary focus today.
We had patents pending on our seed-to-sale algorithms and methodology.
How exactly is a seed tracked from seed to sale?
We create a unique record for each plant at the point that plant is created, whether from clone or seed. And then anything that happens to that plant during the course of its life, we capture. We know what batch number was sold on any given transaction.
So to develop this type of software, do you have to understand growing?
I think it's absolutely necessary.
Okay.
Indoor, outdoor, large scale,
right.
Just in their house doing a caregiver thing with a few plants. So in order to be adaptable, we really need to understand the full breadth of what people are doing.
Very interesting to watch how people adapt to small spaces and large spaces. I'll be interested to see how the recreational centers are allowed to break away from the models that the medical centers are kind of tied to.
I think market conditions will prevail. They did with the medical model.
I think this is a big year. Everybody in the market, from the hemp growers to people that want to make stuff. That's where I think the real explosion is going to be, personally.
I think you're right. And there's a tremendous amount of potential in hemp.
And as far as expansion, it's especially the business side, it's just expanding so rapidly.
Yeah, we're in 12 states, District of Columbia, Canada, and Europe.
There you have it. A short-term memory relapse. Look back to last week's episode with Amy and Jessica from MJ Freeway talking about the ins and outs of payment processing systems and seed-to-sale tracking. Let's move on now to Twin News. This week in news, everything you need to know from the industry up to the date. Now, we're not reporters. We're just out there aggregating social media. So all the news sites, everything from Facebook to Google to Twitter, even LinkedIn, Quora, Reddit, everything we can find about the cannabis industry, stuff specifically related to our show here on the business side, we're going to aggregate, consolidate, and regurgitate back to you. If you want to see it first, scroll our Facebook, become a member, and you'll get the news at the moment, or just listen in every week right here to get Twin News. Let's get into it. Good news! Here we go. First up, Cannabis Now magazine, reflecting on President Obama's speech last night, talking about raising the federal minimum wage from $7.25 to $10.10 an hour. However, absent from his speech was the fact that the fastest growing industry in America is already paying workers a standard $12 to $18 an hour. That's right. Look it up. Cannabis Now magazine. Moms for Marijuana International shared a link. Weed war erupts around Super Bowl. Pro and anti-marijuana billboards planned at the game stadium. Even take a look out for a halftime commercial. Can't wait to see that one, what it'll be all about. Show Me Cannabis says, we think it would be nice if there were an increase in flights coming in to Missouri for tourism. Irregular increase in St. Louis flights to Denver linked to marijuana legalization. Cannabis law reform. Interested? Britain requested details of legalizing cannabis from Uruguay. Cameron administration officials debated for over an hour on the implementation of the law which regulates production and sale of cannabis. Drug possession laws shared Hail Mary Jane's photo. When mainstream daytime talk show host makes jokes about cashing in on legal marijuana, it means we have fully crossed over. That's right. Ellen DeGeneres in a tweet, U.S. marijuana sales might top $2.3 billion this year. I'm not saying I support it. I'm just saying it's now available in the Ellen shop. Cannabis Tax Act shared Paul Stanford's photo. Hemp is the most productive crop. Hemp makes more fuel, fiber, food, and medicine than any other plants. By hemp.org. United Cannabis Workers shared question of the day. If someone threw a rock and knocked you off your donkey, would you be considered stoned off your ass? Cannabis law reform. Airport border guards told not to arrest people carrying small amounts of cannabis. Reported by John Vine, Chief Inspector of the Border and Immigration, the official guidance steers clear from arrest. Well, there's a step forward. Weediest shared Chef Greenbud's photo. Freshly baked, 100% whole weed. Start your waking and baking with Chef Greenbud. Moms for Marijuana International reporting. Medical marijuana patient can get custody of daughter. Billy Fisher doesn't have to choose between a 16-month-old daughter and medical marijuana. There you go. Patients becoming more empowered. Marijuana is safer shared. Survey. Marijuana. Majority of Americans support efforts to legalize marijuana. 55% of Americans support legalization efforts. Well, if you listen to last week's show, we talked about statistics and how wonderful they are. Go back and take a listen if you didn't hear that one on Twin News. Naturalnews.com, some great ideas for growing indoors using mason jars nailed to the wall to grow individual plants. Very interesting. You'll have to look on that one. MarijuanaDoctors.com, it's always a mystery how thousands of pills could be considered as quote-unquote medicine. However, cannabis oils are considered quote-unquote drugs. Who here would rather take their drops of cannabis oil over their mountains of pills? There you go. Anybody that's ever suffered or had to take medication and pills in heavy dose form is going to know exactly what this message is about. You know, a personal story, and I don't often like to get too personal with things, but my brother died of leukemia a few years back, and before he went, that last year was a nightmare. He was on 80 milligrams of oxycodone, stuff to put a horse down, popping these, not taking care of the pain as needed, but destroying his body and his liver. Taking the pills after pills just from the inside out is eating you and deteriorating your organs and making you sicker. And this is the destruction of these policies where people are so adamant against marijuana and cannabis use because of the idea of being high. But not one of these people, not one person who does not use and is advocating for everybody else not to use does not truly know patients who are benefiting. Everybody knows somebody out there. They say 30% of all of us are going to get cancer or something. The reality is probably 70, 80, 90% of all of us are going to get something. Doesn't have to be cancer, doesn't have to be this, but it's going to be something where a doctor is going to attempt to put you on heavy doses of medication. Yeah. It's time to wake up to the fact that we already live in a drug-infested world. The only difference is the majority of these drugs are coming out of factories and companies who are charging a lot of money and making a lot of profit and doing it under the premise, we're here to help. Whereas the true help of people that are producing products that are truly, scientifically helping people alleviate pain and other symptoms gets brushed under the carpet as stoners and weed users. Well, I don't have to preach to the choir, and that's not my goal here today. So let's just keep up the fight. And let's just make sure when you hear somebody talking nonsense, you stand up and you tell them, no, that is incorrect. And when you hear somebody talking about, well, we don't need cannabis because pharmaceuticals produce enough synthetics and other drugs out there, we need to stand up and say, no, that is incorrect. We need to challenge people. Because if not for my brother or anybody else suffering right now, somebody needs to be the voice of reason. And somebody needs to come through and say, enough is enough. Just stop this nonsense. Just stop. That's all the news you need to know this week. And that was the news. Everything you need to know this week, all cannabis related. Hey, you remember last week when we did Cannafessions? We had such a great response that I wanted to do it again. And I want to do it again, at least this show, and then I'll space it out every few weeks or a couple weeks so it doesn't become every show. But I like the idea, and we developed it a little bit, and then we tried it out, and we got a couple responses. And I want to encourage more people to do it. You know, if you don't want to call in and leave your voice, that's fine. Do it by email, and I'll read your email on the air. I would prefer, obviously, if you called in and left a message, because that way we can have you. You don't have to say your name. You don't have to give any identifying information. Just call our media studio line at 970-316-2505, 970-316-2505. That will go to our media production studio. Leave the voicemail there. Give us your Cannafession. We'll get it on the air so we can encourage more people to come out, right? Come out. Come out of your cannabis closet. Don't be ashamed to let people know that you prefer to consume cannabis, or that you just consume cannabis. I guess you don't have to prefer it over anything else. You can consume other things if you want. But don't be ashamed. Tell somebody. Did you ever have a time when maybe you got high? Maybe you shouldn't have. Somebody's wedding, maybe a funeral, I don't know, parent-teacher conference. And you feel like, maybe that wasn't the best thing to do. I might want to come out and tell somebody. Yeah, here's your chance. Cannafessions. Give me a call. Contact me. Let's get this heavy, heavy burden off your shoulders and onto the airwaves of CCP. Let's take a listen to another one this week.
Hey, yeah, this is Mark. I went over to my grandma's house for a Christmas dinner. Stayed at her house, and I lost my bag. I looked all up for it, and I couldn't find it. So then I left, and my aunt came over. She was standing in the room, and in the day, my grandma found a bag, blamed it on her. Thought she was smoking weed. She kept denying it. She's older. She kept denying it, and Grandma said, she was convinced it was hers, and she wanted to take him to the hospital so she could get it because she was a weed addict. And I never told him that it was my bag. So sorry, Auntie. Sorry, Grandma. Really mine. Yeah, okay, I feel better. Thanks. Bye.
Smells so green. And now me too. Boing, 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 boing.
Get your instrument and play along.
Walking barefoot with open wounds. Lord Jesus, there's a fire and I didn't grab my shoes. We sat on the hillside counting the birds. Our mothers were young, our fathers taught us hard work. But sometimes you make me feel too much. The things that I need, the things in dreams that you can't touch. Whatever this race is, darling, I'm not fast enough. And I'm still stranded, trying to catch up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, I love this song. This is such a cool song. I love this style of music. Just an acoustic guitar and a good voice. That's definitely what Hannah's bringing here. Have you ever met those people in your life where you meet them and you instantly feel like you've known them your whole life? That's kind of how I felt when I met Hannah the other night down at Stoney's off of Broadway in Denver. Colorado Concerts was having a meet and greet night. Multiple musicians coming down to play for the night. You're going to hear in this interview in the background a few songs and some musicians playing. To be right in the middle of it and to talk to Hannah not just about music, but to actually get into what it means to be a musician as a career, what it means to be dedicated, to know your path in life and to follow that path, to try to make a living out of it, make some money. How do you make money nowadays in the digital age as a musician? That's what I hope you get out of this interview, that if you're somebody that's pursuing a non-traditional path in life and you have barriers in front of you and everybody's telling you this is the wrong way to go, but you know in your heart this is what you should be doing, Well, it's people like Hannah and others that we're going to talk to that are following that chosen path and doing it out of passion and love. And that's what we're trying to get at the root here, the Cannabis Community Project. So let's take a listen to the Musicpreneur. This is going to be the first segment of the Musicpreneur episode with Hannah. Let's take a listen.
And I'm still sad, it's all I care, so
Hannah, right?
Yes.
What's your full name?
Hannah Samano.
Samano. Where are you from? Are you from Denver?
I am from Detroit, actually. I was born in Detroit.
Born in Detroit. I was born in Madison, Wisconsin, so I guess we're both Midwesterners.
The Midwesterners.
Yes, but you don't have a Midwestern accent.
No, I've lived in Tennessee for a couple years.
Okay.
And I worked at a Cracker Barrel, but they weren't very comfortable with my northern accent, so I had a southern one and start talking like this and say y'all, and then that stuck, and so I had to turn into a vocal chameleon of sorts. And
well, as a musician, I'm sure you're also used to transforming your voice and working with all sorts of different sounds.
Yeah.
How long have you been a musician?
Oh, for a very long time. I started playing piano when I was probably 3 or 4. My grandmother and my mom played, and my dad owned a music shop.
Like instruments and...
Yeah, lessons and instruments and all kinds of things. So I started playing guitar probably around 15 and started doing shows around 16 and just been doing it ever since.
You're definitely a fluent musician then. I heard your song. Yeah, it was great. I really do like it, and
Good.
I'm not saying that just because I'm here, trying to interview you, but it was a cool song.
Good.
It's definitely my genre of music. I love the guitar, and I love the just kind of the singer-songwriter set up there, so it was cool.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I got it on my iTunes, so...
Do you? Good.
Should I throw you $1 or something?
No, that's complimentary.
Just kidding. So how did you get from Detroit to Colorado? Was it because of music?
Oh my gosh. I just travel a lot, really. I was living in Tennessee for a couple of years, and I went back to Detroit, and then came back, and then decided to go on a train trip and met
across the country?
Yeah, and met someone on the train, and they're like, you should come back and play music in Denver. I was like, okay. So I was halfway on my way to Eugene to do an aquaponic thing, which, do you know anything about aquaponics?
I do.
Yeah, so I'm trying to start something with that for my entrepreneurship.
Ooh, then I'll have to come back and do another show, and we'll have to talk about that
Yeah, I'm
specifically.
actually super excited about that.
Okay.
Music is my thing, but that is about to be my other thing.
Why didn't you mention that in the email? I would have prepared for a whole...
I don't know why I didn't.
No, that's okay. That gives me a perfect
opportunity
opportunity to come back and talk to you again.
Yeah, excellent.
So we'll make another show that's just about that part of it there.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I ended up in Denver and started playing and met a bunch of people and the people that you've met.
This is definitely a good place to be, the Denver area. Did you go to Tennessee for music?
No, I just kind of went there for fun, and I had friends there that were playing music down there and just hanging out, and so we spent a couple years down there just
traveling around,
just bumming them around.
It's the life of the musician. It's still pretty much the same as it was probably since the beginning of a musician's life. You travel around and you play your music and you try to get paid for it. I don't know if technology, or despite technology, anything's really going to fundamentally change about that.
I don't think it hasn't. I mean, not for me. It's pretty much been the same.
At what age did your parents allow you to go out and actually play music? I guess a gig, you want to call it, your first gig?
My first gig was, I was 16. I think I just turned 16. And my brother, who's here, is a DJ, played with me on that one.
Who's your brother?
He is Keep Love. He's a DJ. He does a genre called folk step.
Okay.
He played my first show with me. That was at my dad's shop, actually. It was kind of a comfortable place to be because I was there all the time anyway. I asked him if I could play, and he said sure, and set up a thing for me to do. And
so you had the siblings lead the way.
Yeah.
Did you get paid for it, or was it just your first gig?
I don't remember. I think it was just an open mic thing.
Okay.
I think there's several other people that were playing, and
And how old were you?
16.
16. Yeah. What was your fear like at that time?
It was huge.
Yeah?
It was huge. I had a huge stage fright.
How did you get over it? Or I guess, did you get over it?
I just did it. I still have it sometimes.
Yes?
But
when you go up tonight, are you nervous? Are you nervous playing in front of this crowd here? We're at Smokey's.
Not really. Stoney's.
Yeah. Stoney's Bar and Grill off of Broadway.
Yeah.
In Denver, Colorado.
No, it seems like a pretty friendly crowd. I think there have definitely been crowds that I'm a bit more intimidated by. It's funny when you go up there, I don't talk very much when I'm up there.
Like talking to the crowd, interacting with them?
I have a hard time doing that.
You just jump right in and play your music.
I'll start talking and say some weird things, and people think it's funny, but most of the time it's just because I just don't know what I'm talking about. So,
well, the natural instinct is usually the funny moments, the ones that come across. I guess if you tried to stage a joke or conversation,
it's awful.
That would probably come across quite awkward. But if you're a musician, play music.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
why do you spend so much time talking if you're
your
supposed to be
talking
playing
is
music?
through your words, I guess.
Exactly.
Do you write your own music?
I do. All the ones I'm playing tonight are written by me.
And how long have you been writing music? Did you start out writing music?
For a long time. I always hated covers. I always thought covers were so stupid, like everybody does at some point. And
even your own rendition, your own little twist to it.
I was like, I want to play my own music. I don't want to play somebody else's. And then I realized that after playing a couple covers, that it's actually the best way to make your own original music more dynamic, because it's not just from your head. It's things that you have adjusted from other people's renditions of them. And
that's interesting. I was actually just thinking about this the other day. I play the guitar.
Okay.
And I play some covers.
Yay.
But I'm not a musician. I never formally learned anything about music. So I have a difficult time playing with other people, and I have a difficult time understanding music as far as listening to a song and he's they're playing in the key of A.
I don't know any of that. You're still a musician if you play. I don't know anything about that.
I consider myself a guitar player, but not necessarily a musician. But I do write my own songs, and I do those based on kind of what you were saying. I started out trying to play other songs and realized I don't know anything about music, and unless I go get a book of tablature or something, it's almost impossible. But out of trying to learn somebody else's song, I learned to develop how to fake it a little bit, how to keep my own original sound while trying to mimic somebody else. So it did create a little bit of original something there. But it's interesting when you have to try to play somebody else's music. It's a completely different mind frame than playing your own, where nobody knows.
Yeah,
right?
It's really interesting.
So I tell people, nobody knows, right? Nobody knows what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. I mean...
nobody knows what we're doing. No idea.
What we're supposed to be doing. We just fake it, right? You go up on stage and you play music. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's my own little take on music from a non-musical trained perspective.
Well, that's great. I'm glad to hear that you play.
Well, I started at around age 20-ish or so. I was trying to go to school, and I said, well, what can I do? Maybe I'll study music. I took a semester of that, and I was like, okay, I don't think I'm going to be able to study music. But I didn't want to stop playing music because, like most, I guess, boys with guitars, you're listening to your Stevie Ray Vaughns and Jimi Hendrix, and you're like, I got to play that.
Yeah.
So I can remember specifically hearing Stevie Ray Vaughan's Little Wing and thinking, well, I got to get a guitar because I got to learn how to play that.
Of course.
And that was pretty much my journey, and then I've just tinkered around with it over the years.
That's excellent.
But you obviously being trained, right? Yeah, I mean, you're a trained musician. When you start at age 4, whether you took classes or went to a university, I would say when you start at age 4, you're kind of a trained musician.
Yeah, maybe, I guess, I've never thought of myself as a trained musician just because I never took advantage of, and I kick myself for it all the time, but I never took advantage of the fact that my dad owned a place that had lessons and everything that I could ever want with music. And
exposed to it, always.
I was just there all the time, so I never wanted to take advantage of all the little...
Do you remember having a spark of, that's what I want to do? Or was it just because this is what I've been doing since birth, it's just like eating, it's just something I do?
It was more like that. It was. I don't remember, like when I hear that I started at that age, it's not because I remember starting at that age, it's because my mom said, oh, well, the first time you ever played was this, and this is how it was, and I'm
the
like,
inspiration that sparks off there. What about your brother or bandmates or others that you talk to? What is their story similar in the sense of music was just always there, or it was an inspiration?
I think definitely for my family, all 3 of my brothers play guitar. My middle brother doesn't as much, but my younger brother is a DJ too, and my oldest brother does the DJ thing and also does a live set. So they've all had similar experiences with it, I think.
So you're kind of a musical family then.
Yeah, everyone kind of does some kind of art thing. My sister is an excellent painter, art teacher.
Do you support each other in a business sense through music, where you help each other get gigs or manage, give each other tips on working with bar owners and handling your money?
Yeah, if we can. I mean, my oldest brother is best at that. He's the best entrepreneur when it comes to
So
the
older
music
brothers
stuff.
are good for?
Yeah, he's excellent for that. I'm not so good at the business part of my own music. I'm not very good at the promoting, and I just like to do it, so that's why it's kind of...
Well, there's the artist, which is equivalent to maybe the inventor, those who create. And then there's the entrepreneur, which is maybe equivalent to maybe the agent or the manager of the musician who's looking for the business opportunity and maybe dynamic and creative, but on a business sense, but not with that original invention.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of inventors are poor business people, but a lot of good business people are the ones who see the opportunity and kind of exploit that and know how to make it their own. So I guess as long as you have the support system in place.
Yeah, I think all pieces are valuable. There are artists. I have people tell me sometimes, like, "Oh, I wish I could do that, or I wish I could play, or I wish I could this." And it's like, no, you know what?
I wish.
I'm glad that you do what you do, because if all of us did this, it wouldn't be nearly as much fun. It wouldn't be nearly as interesting.
Right.
If I knew how to do what you do, I wouldn't be as good as what I do. I think everybody is an important piece when it comes to that.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things I do on my side jobs is helping people set up other podcasts for their own business and their websites and little media stuff. And people will be like, well, why would you do that? Why aren't you competing with yourself? No, not really. Because I'm building a community, but at the same time, like a musician, you're only competing if you're trying to do cover songs. If you're the Friday night cover band jamming the 70s classic rock tunes, there's a lot of competition.
Yeah. There's also a ton of money in cover songs, which is what's so awful.
Well, because there's a lot of little pubs like this that you can hit frequently and pick up your $50, $100, $200 and move on quickly and do that. But I don't know. I mean, that seems like a rough life. Maybe 20s, 30-ish. So past that seems like a lot of wear and tear.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a sustainable career as far as traveling.
Some people, I know a lot of musicians that do that, and they really love it. And it's kind of the thing that's like, I prefer a 30, 40-minute set, like a showcase like this, and I've done the cover thing. I have a big book of all these covers, but they're all obscure covers that, like, people don't really know, so it kind of seems like it's not really like that. But it's 3 hours of playing, with maybe 10 minutes of a break in between. It's exhausting. Right. It's exhausting for every part of you.
That's finding covers and making them almost uniquely original and finding those obscure songs, because if nobody's really heard it, music in itself is not a pure original spark of energy. It's a build, and this is obviously my personal side of it, but it's a building thing. It builds on top of each other.
It's true. I've already started well.
You're playing gigs. People are learning your music.
Yeah.
You're getting known. Do you have a website?
Yes, I do. You can find me on Facebook, just Hannah Samano Music.
Okay. You might want to spell that just because...
It's Hannah, Hannah, and then Samano is Samano, and then it's music. It's Facebook.com.
All one.
All one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And do you also have an iTunes account or a place where you have music on some type of media storage where people can acquire your music?
I have a SoundCloud. There's free downloads on the SoundCloud.
Free downloads.
So there's an EP that I did in Michigan with a friend of mine, and I'll be playing a couple songs from that tonight. That's SoundCloud.com/Samano Music.
Now, I need to ask you about the pricing philosophy because I'm always curious. Okay, so for the last 3 things I asked you, I stated my opinion first. So why don't you tell me, what is your business model in the sense of your business is producing music, which means your product is music.
Yeah.
So that's the exchange where you get your survival of life, your career from, is exchanging music for money?
Well, it's really weird because people don't really buy albums anymore.
That's true.
And the vinyl thing has come back as like a trendy thing. Like modern bands will
vinyl.
Yeah, will like release their
records.
album in vinyl instead of a CD. Like CDs are kind of obsolete, and then the vinyl is coming back as like a great, cool thing to release your album on. And also the digital world, it's really hard to sell music, I think. And so I like the model of giving music away for free. There are a couple different ones. There are donation-based things. Like when I sell my CDs, it's donation-based. It's what is it worth to you, and that's what you can have it for.
Do you want to reveal how much people feel your music is worth when they donate?
Generally, it's between... The last time I was playing a show with a local guy, Zach Heckendorf, at the Gothic Theater over here. Mm-hmm. And I was selling CDs there, and I think I sold like 10, and it was like $75 or something that I got for 10.
Oh,
so
okay.
It depends on where
it's not
you
too
are.
bad.
No, that's excellent.
Yeah.
That's a lot, but it's not always like that. You know, it depends on where you're at. And
I mean, it's working
crowd.
for commission in a sense that there's no guarantee or set anything, but you're kind of relying on the goodwill of people to understand what the social contract is. Yeah. That you're selling music, whether it's in a tangible form or a live performance, and people are expected to pay. I think that's as expected as a waiter or waitress expecting a tip from a restaurant because, I don't know, but at the same time, you're posting your stuff for free. Yeah. So you're going directly against the idea that I'm supposed to be making money from this. So where do you survive?
Well,
or how do you survive?
I think most smart musicians that aren't doing a lot of live shows, because a lot of the money thing comes from booking yourself a lot for live shows. If I had 4 or 5 shows a week like this that I was getting paid for, then it would be okay. That would be not enough.
It would be a job. It would be a regular...
Yeah, it'd be a night job. But
what you would recommend to smart musicians to make a career out of music? I guess I'm working from the premise that you're trying to make this your career, right?
Well,
I mean, are you working at Macy's somewhere and trying to work up the corporate ladder, or is this your pursuit of happiness?
I just got a job at a accounting place over here, and it's really funny because the way that I got the job was through a sound guy that I know from another place, and he called me and said, "Hey, do you need a job?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm looking for a job." And so he's like, "Okay, call this person." Went to the interview, walked in, and the first person I saw was a guitar player, sound guy that I knew from the same other place. And then the lady, my boss, is a concert oboe player, and then the other guy is a drummer. So it's like, this is their real job, but everybody's a musician. So I think
actors work as waiters and waitresses, musicians work as accountants and office.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't think that they all do that, but I think that if you're wise and you understand that today, especially, music is extremely difficult, especially with the digital age. It's extremely difficult to make a living at, unless you're doing covers, and you're doing a lot of them, which I know some people that do that, and they make their whole living is that.
I guess. I mean, if that's what you're into.
Yeah, it's either way. It's just more stable. I guess you shouldn't say that it can't be done, because it can be done.
Well, stability, though, that brings up the direct premise, though, of being an artist.
Yeah.
Is being an artist looking for stability? I mean, is having a gig Monday through Friday so you can be home by 7 o'clock and catch your morning radio? I mean, is that... Are you still an artist if you fall in... Even though you may come and play music, can you still call yourself an artist?
I don't know. That's what I'm having a really big problem with lately, is because I'm in this weird transition right there. I'm trying to readjust the vagabond artist thing into a more sustainable, more predictable kind of style, which sounds really horrible and boring, but
no, it doesn't,
it's just
because
really
that's
attractive after years of doing doing it this way.
It is. And
You know?
it's not boring at all. I mean, that is the whole inspiration of why I created this podcast.
Yeah.
Was because I'm an artist.
Okay.
Which means the second I walk through a corporate door interview, they immediately spot me.
They know it.
See me.
They know it.
Even when I have my fancy suit on and my shoes polished and I'm wearing my gold watch and my $500 cell phone sticking out of my pocket, they immediately spot me in my questions because I'm too honest. I have difficulty. I have a difficult time playing the part outside of like a spoof or a gag.
Yeah.
You know, like I can play the part all day long if that's what we're doing. You know, if that's the thing. But when it's supposed to be real, I have a difficult time playing the
It's
part.
hard to do it. As a creative person, it's really difficult. That's why I'm so happy about the job that I just got, because it's all people that are just like that. They're doing a real person job, but it's under the guise of a real person job. But
Well, I have a master's degree. Doesn't
In what?
It's not worth in marketing communications.
Okay.
Strategic communications, I guess
Oh.
technically is the title. Doesn't have much value.
doesn't do anything for you.
Doesn't do much because what I am is a person who doesn't fit into a corporate HR hiring scheme.
Right.
So, in a sense, when I talk to people about entrepreneurship, most people think I'm talking to them like, "Hey, I'm this up and coming young entrepreneur that's out trying to get my ideas out in the world."
Yeah.
What I really am is an unemployable person who's trying to find a career doing something that feels like it's somewhat creatively stimulating and somewhat self-controlling.
Yeah.
I want to be a little bit in control of my own creativity
course.
and who owns that creativity.
Of course.
So that makes me highly unemployable.
Yeah.
Starting my own businesses, working in businesses.
So then you're rich then. You're not really poor. You're poor in some ways and maybe in the corporate view, but you're rich in the way that you don't buy into it.
Yeah, I'm pretty poor. But no, just kidding. No,
I feel you there.
obviously we're all rich. I mean, we're on a Friday night, we're sitting in a bar. We have the time to sit down and talk to each other. We have the money to afford transportation to come
Yeah.
down here.
Yeah.
We don't have to go work in a mine right now until
No.
midnights and dig the stuff out of grounds that make cell phone screens.
I feel exceptionally rich just being here.
I want to talk to people specifically who think they are an artist or some type of entertainer. I love talking about art.
Of course.
Not necessarily paintings and stuff, but
Fine arts.
I like.
It's hard to talk about fine art.
I like the arts, I guess,
Yeah.
in the big sense, and I love creativity, even if it's just straight up business. I mean, if I were working at an accounting office, and John Smith came up with a new way how to transfer balance sheets from the Excel to the, I would be like, damn,
That's excellent.
That is a
That's
creative, ingenious
creativity,
person,
just
and I dig
awesome.
that. In this sense, what I'm hoping is just to have a show people can listen to, and they can hear a musician say, "Yeah, I'm a musician." I'm out there trying to be an artist and pursue creativity, but at the same time, I need to eat.
Yeah.
Right? We need to pay rent, and the light rail apparently costs money.
Yeah.
Who knew? So
It does.
I got to get at least $1.25 every day
Yeah.
in my pocket. So how do I do that? Well, if I'm a musician and I'm giving away my music for free, we probably have to come up with a business model that people haven't quite thought of yet or are currently working on, but maybe haven't perfected. Because I don't think you should have to work in an accounting office to be a musician.
That is ideal. There are a lot of musicians that do it quite well, really. That do the business part very well, and my brother is one of them. He does it, and it's a very different genre. It's a very different type. Like it's not much more difficult, but it's pretty difficult when there's so many singer-songwriter people to be unique and to be, especially like for someone like me. I just like doing it. I'm not a very like aggressive like business fighting competition with this guy who's playing right now. Like that's not at all me. So I'm a horrible business person when it comes to my own business of music. When it comes to something like the aquaponic thing, I'm excellent at that because it's something that's can be done very differently.
That's interesting because I'm willing to bet in both of those ventures, you probably apply the same energy from a creative standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely.
And an interest, as far as your interest, and from a development of what you would ultimately like to develop.
Yeah.
Is music a hobby, or is it a career? Is the aquaponics a hobby, or is it a career?
I think sometimes those things can happen accidentally. That something that's a hobby can turn into a career. And I think if you look at something as kind of a hobby and know what you want it to be, then it's a lot more likely to be successful as a career.
Yeah.
Without you
having to put too much of your energy that feels like it's being drained from you. I mean, I think if you're really pursuing creativity, it's not draining energy.
Yeah.
It's kind of that it just flows, but there's no end to it. It doesn't take it out of you.
Because there's creativity in songwriting, obviously, and there's no song that hasn't been written. You know, there's no, like with music, everyone feels so original, you know? And it's like, I've recently realized this. It's great to feel that way. Originality is a great feeling.
And to be recognized as being original.
And to be recognized as being original and to be told that and everything else. And that's excellent. But the truth of it is you're original as a person. There's not really a super huge place to go with acoustic music for creativity. Like,
what would it be? I guess every decade has had an acoustic run. I don't know.
I think that people are kind of sick of the huge amount of just electric-y stuff that's been happening because
the overproduced.
Because it's a new thing and the technology is interesting, and so everybody wants to do it. Everybody can be a musician now because of that technology.
Yeah.
And it's really cool, but then also it's like, well, but we want to mix like the rootsiness of it because we're losing the realness of music.
The analog of touching something that's made of wood or metal and having those vibrations of waves come off of it versus a synthetic reproduction coming through a digital form. I think there's something about the music, like any other sound waves, that when they hit you, they're physically affecting you.
Yeah.
And when those sound waves come at you in a digital form, I don't know, they just might be missing a couple megabytes in the feeling of it.
There's different things. There's the bass thing. If you ever felt a bass that you just feel like in your cells and it's nuts and it's just like, holy crap, I've never felt that before from music. And that's really cool. But when you mix that with something else, yay! You mix that with an acoustic thing, it's completely different because you have that now, and you also have the rootsiness, and so it's a weird dynamic that is new.
I laugh when you said everybody thinks they're original because
she's great.
Yeah. Always jealous of a good vocalist.
She has an interesting voice. It's like, I don't even know what to describe it as, really. It's soulful, but it's also very sweet, you know?
Yeah.
Which is nice. Colleen Glynn.
It's capturing me.
Yeah, I know. You just can't help it. I love it.
I mean, with so much talent in the world, how can we not have people making a living? I mean, when you have that kind of talent, how...
I never have understood that. I really have never understood it because it's so funny to me that the people like this that can do what a lot of people cannot do are the ones that don't get paid very much for it, and then the people that can do what anyone can do. Well, that's where people make money.
I think it's that there's definitely something wrong in the world when bankers make money for simply filling out applications and approving people of who they're going to lend money to, and musicians with talent that have to come out and work their instrument and practice for hours.
Yeah.
Well, music is just one of those things where I don't understand why every location doesn't have some type of music element, because musicians will play.
They want to. All of them
they're
do.
all over the place, and people will support them financially. It's not like bars and restaurants are really putting up employment W-2s and to get a musician in there.
No.
All they have to do is just literally find a corner in the room and an outlet, if even that.
It brings in so much. It makes so much. I mean, people come in and they drink and they buy food, and somebody's not going to come in here specifically for the music and not get anything.
But when you're here and there's music, next Friday night when it's 5 o'clock, everybody's clocking out, and Brian from the office asked you, "Hey man, should we get some beers?"
Yeah.
Stonies.
Yeah.
Live music, nachos, and beer.
What more can you ask for?
You want to talk about cannabis at all?
I love cannabis. I think that...
All right, no more said. Thanks for coming down.
That's all. I'm more interested in, besides the recreational use of it, I'm more interested in the textiles and the other things.
The hemp production.
Yeah.
The industrial part.
I'm very interested
coming.
in that. I'm kind of looking forward to doing something with my aquaponic plan, kind of related to that.
Now, we can touch on that just a little bit, but then I definitely want to sit down with you and just talk about that.
Yeah.
Since we've already taken up 45 minutes of your time, we can call it short now, and just anything you want to say about cannabis. I mean, I love cannabis is a good statement.
I love it.
You have an aquaponics business, or is it at this point kind of
it will be a business.
Hobby?
It will be a
development?
business. It's going to be. I think that it's most worth it on the large scale. I mean, your production obviously is huge then, and you're not just having a little home garden. You can sell to markets and all kinds of things, and it's a lot quicker. Like the turnover of it's nuts.
So I've seen it, and then I've read a little bit about it, and I've talked to a couple people around it. I always state in every conversation, I don't really know anything about growing. In spite of the fact I've spoken to probably hundreds of people about growing, and I've had interviews with people that explained in detail about growing.
It just doesn't stick.
Yeah, it doesn't really stick.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, you think we talked about everything there was?
I think we talked about a lot of things.
I think we got pretty well in depth with your music.
Yeah.
And a little bit about you. And then in a few weeks, we'll have to do it again and talk more about aquaponics and what that's all about.
Okay.
And definitely come down and support your music. You want to give out all your contact and info and everything else where people can find you, hear you?
Yes, SoundCloud is where you can download some free music. It's soundcloud.com/Samano Music. It's SAMANO Music. That's really all. Facebook is Samano Music, Hannah Samano Music, and those are the only two that I really try to use.
And then they can get some samples of your songs downloaded for free right from SoundCloud.
Know where I'm playing next and around the area, etc.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate it. This was fun. It was good getting to know you. And again, we were down here at Stoney's off of Broadway in Denver, hanging out with Hannah.
It is the showcase, the Denver, Colorado Concerts Showcase.
Denver, Colorado Concerts Showcase.
Yes.
Excellent. Very good. Excellent. We did it.
Absolutely.
That was all.
Thank you.
All right. There you have it, Hannah Samano. Look her up. She has some great music. You gotta check out her SoundCloud or Facebook or even a YouTube. Found a few YouTube videos with some great songs and her just singing some acoustic solo stuff there. But did you learn a little bit about musicians? Did you learn a little bit about entrepreneurship? Now, I know you were thinking, what does that have to do with cannabis? Are you starting to get the idea? What the Cannabis Community Project is all about? This is not a pot podcast. This is not some weed-talking, strain, sniffing, marijuana, buzzing, stoner show. No, my friends. Stick around. We're going to learn so much more about business, Colorado, entrepreneurship, creativity, and moving into the future. Now, any true person living the cannabis lifestyle is going to know exactly what this show is about. And they're going to tune in, and they're going to listen, and they're going to know we don't have to talk anything about your mama's marijuana or your daddy's pot. keep listening to our show. We got a bunch of new shows lined up for the new year that are going to be just excellent. We're going to be talking to dispensaries and growers, security companies, lawyers, physicians, all sorts of people, those getting involved in hemp. All you got to do is just listen in every Saturday directly from my webpage at CannabisCommunityProject.com. You can find us on Facebook also, Cannabis Community Project, and we will be broadcasting every Saturday at 4:20 right here, same place, same time. See you next week. Today's show is also brought to you by Dairy Berry's Recording Studio. Please give all of our sponsors support. Dairy Berry's is a comfortable, creative, high-quality music recording studio with an emphasis on capturing the essence of the artist's vision. Call Mark at Dairy Berry's Recording Studio or look him up at dairyberriesrecordingstudio.com or call 303-456-8216.